Hi, Olof here, and this is the Lapierre Overvolt GLP 2 team. It's the 2020 or 2021 version.
First, a big thank you to the store EX in Hullared for lending us 2 of their top spec bikes in the middle of the winter. This is one of these stores in the middle of nowhere that people travel for hours to get to because of the quality of the bikes and the service that is offered by the 2 store owners that have a background in professional cycling. I don't promise anything, but there's a coffee brew behind the counter if you plan to visit.
There's a bit of a mix-up between the model years here. This is actually a 2021 version, according to Lapierre. But in the middle of 2021, Lapierre released a new version, a new 2021 version, with a Seb fork up front instead of the Lyric. And that Seb fork has also got 10mm more travel. It's got 170mm of travel. So this team edition is the top spec edition. It's got loads of top-end components, as the electric shifter, and it's got a Lyric Ultimate fork, and it's also got a Super Deluxe Select Plus shock, RT I think it's called. And the motor is a Bosch motor. It's the same as the Elite version, which is a lower spec version, so there are basically 2 versions that I know of. They both come with the Performance CX motor, the Bosch Performance CX motor, and it's got a 500 watt-hour battery as well. And the drivetrain on this bike, it's an X01 drivetrain, SRAM drivetrain that is. It's 12 speed, and the dropper is Lapierre's own dropper, and it's also their own saddle of course as well. And it's got a carbon handlebar, it's also got a carbon frame, both the team version and the Elite version. And the unique thing is where the battery is placed on this bike. So it's placed down there just above the motor, to keep the center of gravity as low as possible. And this whole bike is a bike that oozes racing, and it's won a lot of races in the EWS championship as well. Tire wise, it's a mullet setup. It's a 29er up front with a 2.5-inch Maxxis tire right there. It's an Assegai tire. Assegai is one of the most grippy tires that you can have on a mountain bike. And there's also a 2.8-inch Maxxis Minion DHR2 in the rear, and so it's actually a plus tire. And the chainstays are pretty short. They are at 440mm in size large, and I think the reach of this bike is 460. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's 460. And then there's a head angle, it's around 65 degrees. So this will only be a small test today because it's 8 or 9 degrees below zero, and lots of snow as well of course, so we can only just get a feel for the bike, and we cannot really test the bike properly, and we only have it for a couple of hours. So we'll just take it for a spin and just get a feel for it.
This bike ticks many of my boxes. A short chainstay, mullet setup, Lyric fork, it's lightweight, etc. Most eMTBs really are tanks that weigh around 24 kilos with a heavy battery that goes far up the down tube, making them front heavy and not that very lively. With the Lapierre's racing approach, this bike has got a different feel to it than its rivals. These conditions are far from ideal, but from what I can tell is that the bike feels closer to a normal MTB than other full power eMTBs. It's light in the front and it's easy to lift and maneuver. At the same time it feels balanced, since most of the weight sits low and in the center of the bike. That is something that I, as an average mountain biker, appreciate. Riding a bike in the snow can really be twitchy sometimes, but the Lapierre usually do what I want. It is easy to place the front wheel where I want it, and there is nothing wrong with the traction either. You probably already know what a powerhouse the Bosch CX Performance line motor is, and this bike is equipped with the Wheelin controller, which I think is very functional, but perhaps not very pretty. The AXS electrical shifter is almost an unnecessary luxury that you will not find on any other bike at this price point. It works really well and it cleans up the cockpit a bit. As a contrast, the bike is equipped with the new medium-tier SRAM G2 brakes, and this is the first time I test them. The looks is a divider. I guess that many prefer integrated batteries, and that many think an external battery looks dated. Personally, I don't mind the external battery. The bike is designed like this for performance reasons, and I'm all for that if that makes the bike more agile and fun to ride. Here are 3 annoying things with the Lapierre Overvolt GLP 2. I think the SRAM G2 brakes will work well for casual riding, but I strongly doubt that Nicolas Wheelin used this brake when he's winning EWS races. I'm struggling to find annoying things with this bike, but something as simple as a place for a water bottle can be a deal breaker for some. If you need to take water with you, you always need to bring a backpack. The design of this bike makes the front end feel light, and I'm only guessing here since I have not tested, that steeper climbs can be a struggle. Here are 3 good things with the Lapierre Overvolt GLP 2. If you're complaining about the light front end, you probably missed the point with the GLP 2. Keeping the weight low and central makes the bike more agile, and it's easier to lift the front wheel over obstacles and to change direction. But I feel that I need to explore the handling more when the snow has disappeared. Top specs for most part make this bike complete. There's no need to spend money on any upgrades, maybe the brakes being the exception. Name one bike with this much performance and these specs that does not cost over 10,000 euros. Name one.
And in the deep snow it really tracks well, better than a reference bike today. It's got a 29-inch wheel in the front with an aggressive mud tire, and I think that's the way to go in deep snow actually. And what's unique with this bike, as far as I can tell, during these unique conditions, is that it's pretty agile and sort of playful as well. So it's a really fun bike to ride even in this deep snow. And I would really like to take this bike out on the proper trail when it gets warmer, of course. So we'll see if we can arrange that in the near future. But so far, very promising bike. I will list the prices down here below, because I don't remember them. Brake-wise, this bike has got a SRAM G2 brake, I think. And it's got a 220mm rotor in the front there and 200mm rotor in the rear. And the SRAM G2 brake is the new generation brake that replaces the Guide R, I think. And on the other bike behind us, we actually got another Lapierre Overvolt bike, and that bike has actually got Hope brakes mounted to, but that's an aftermarket thing to increase braking power, I guess. It's very difficult to say if these brakes are enough. Under these conditions, I don't know actually. But overall, very nice bike. I like it very much.
It's difficult to come to any conclusions from only a few hours ride in the snow. But from what I know this far, this is a very promising bike. I would probably go as far as to say that this bike is on my top 3 list of eMTBs right now. It feels so agile and fun and has got fantastic components to a fair price.